Hello one and all, I do hope we are doing well. Now, as some of you might already know, I have been working on creating my own programming language, Iaithous. However, for now I will be creating a few programming tutorials to wet my whistle and hopefully learn how to make a half-decent YouTube video. Well, here's hoping. So, in today's video, as the title suggests, we are creating a nice little HTML or XML reader in Java. Then, in the next video, we'll be doing something crazy with it. I will be using HTML and XML interchangeably, as XML is basically the extendable version of HTML. Now, reading any code, be it HTML, Java, C++, or even Iaithous, is actually relatively simple. Even compilers are not that complicated. Now, I know some people think it's like working with some Lovecraftian eldritch horror, and that it would take some kind of horrific acts performed on a sacrificial altar just to build one. It does not, and I know some of you are going to be disappointed by this. In simple terms, anything like this, be it a reader, parser, compiler, uses a few basic steps. Step 1. A tokenizer. A tokenizer removes unwanted stuff like comments and simply chops the code up into small little workable bits we like to call tokens. This is often called a lexical analyzer. Step 2. A parser. A parser takes the tokens, typically a line of tokens, and works out what the programmer is trying to say by the token's arrangement. The arrangement is called syntax. The syntax is analyzed, so the parser is often called the syntax and analyzer. Analyzer, yes. Step 3. Post-parsing and checks. Now we know roughly what the programmer is trying to say. We now check if it makes any sense, clarifying context, etc. Some nice error checking is done here also. As we are grabbing information, or meaning, from language here, which is called semantics, and it's being analysed, this is naturally called Dave. No, not Dave. It's the semantic analyzer. After step 4, everything goes into the code generation, which is not that complicated, as it just converts the information we gathered into another language, typically assembly, or converts it into some strange numbers we call hexadecimal. Typically there'll be some basic libraries involved in some form or another. Don't worry about code generation though, this will be touched on in some form in our crazy next video. Also, don't worry if any of this goes over your head. It's mostly academic bloat anyway, and isn't really that important. Just remember this. Chop it, arrange it, check it, and do it. Okay everyone, now after that interesting preamble, we can actually get to the coding. But first, we need to create a Java project. And we're going to call this HTML XML Reader. Good, now that's done, what we need to do is we need to create a couple of packages. I'm going to call it, first one called Reader. I know there's a few conventions for naming Java packages. I don't care, at least for this video. Okay, we're going to call this one Chop It. Create another one called Arrange It. Then we're going to want another one called Check It. We did dot check it. Now I want, last but certainly not least, do it. That's that done there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a main package purely for our HTML, XML. Good, this is going to be our main class, the one that loads the program, so public static void main string with our arms there you go, nice and simple. And in Chop It, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create a new class called token, followed up by the thing that makes tokens, tokenizer, like so. Okay, now we've finished setting the classes up, we're going to go over to the token. And in the token class, we are going to set up the constructor, which is control space. Now we are going to create a couple of variables. Private string reporting for duty. We want two variables, don't we? The type and the string. And in the constructor, of course, we are going to want string type, string value, and we're just going to set them here. Token type equals type, string equals value. Lovely, that sounds good. Now what we're going to want to do is create a couple of getters. I could, do it through the create getter and setter for token type. But instead, I think I'll write my own. I prefer doing it like that. And then we go over to get value. Return token string. Well, that's pretty much done. It's lightweight. It just holds two values, a type and a string. But also what we're going to do for easiness, public static final string, and these are going to be types. So type element, and again we are going to copy this and type text. There we go. That's the token done. Next step is going back to the tokenizer, setting up the constructor there, adding a couple of methods. One's called chop it. So, let's make that one private actually. And let's call this one do the chop. Everybody do the chop. There you go. Lovely. Now, chop it takes in is an array of strings, which we're going to call line. Actually, lines. So that's much nicer. Create a for loop, which it fills in for us. And instead of chopping it up here, this is actually where we put things together into a large string. Call it body. And initialize it blank. There you go. And what we do this, body equals body plus lines I. Can always add a break line there. And then what we will do as well, body equals body plus a space. And the reason for the space is basically to avoid a little error where the tokenizer really sort of gets confused when you reach the end. You'll see why in a minute. So, we've got that. We want to take in string body. Then what we do is we do the chop. Puts body in there. Now what this allows us to do is it allows us to go over the whole body of text in one fell swoop. Now what we do here is we turn that body of text into an array of individual characters. Equals turn that into an array, create a for loop which it fills in for us very nicely, and here what we want to do is we want to check for a couple of characters. Primarily we are going to want to check for an open bracket, less than symbol. We also want to check for a greater than close symbol. We're going to want to check for forward slash. We are going to want to check for an exclamation mark. And, just not add there. What we are also going to want to do is we are going to want to have a another method here, and what it does is it checks, needs to be a boolean, checks for, or it checks if one of the characters is a valid character. It primarily for inside the element. We don't actually care about the standard text that it's, bracketing. Private boolean is allowed char, takes in a character, C, if character is alphabetic, and C does not equal space. Oh, there you go. And if C does not equal space, that's good. Then return true. Else it'll just return false. There you go, nice and simple. What we do is we do else if is allowed character. Nice and simple. Just like that. And just like that indeed. Even though I don't want to paint myself as a hypocrite, especially in my first video, I've noticed how long this video would be if I didn't cut it into two. And, well, everyone would be asleep and it would be dull and no one would enjoy it and you'll be asleep, So yes, I'm going to cut this video into hopefully 2 15-minute halves. I don't think it'll be too longer than that. If not, I will let you know. But this is what this first series is about, mainly for me, is about learning how to make videos so I can talk about my programming language, Iaithous. Thank you for understanding. If not, I'm sorry, so we'll leave it there. And say, wherever you are, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.